please, Jürg, introduce yourself briefly and your composite career.
Okay, welcome to everybody. So I'm basically a civil engineer. I started my composite career as a structural engineer in Swiss space industry. That was back into the 80s, last millennium. And then quickly I transferred to industrial applications in medical business in a company called Sulzer. And there I was heavily involved into development of hip joints at the time in peak carbon fiber. And that then followed all my life. I am now at the end of my engineering career, and I was always in thermoplastic composites, mostly peak and carbon for medical applications, for industrial applications, and also some development projects in oil field, okay?
So it means you have a lot to share with a younger generation about your know-how.
Yes, sometimes I think so. Sometimes they have better ideas than I have. Sometimes I'm a little bit frustrated because we did a lot of work before internet, so that's not available to them or they don't look there. Sometimes I think history is repeated, but there is always progress. When I look in general view, the tons manufactured, they're increasing slowly, the applications are slowly. When I look at my recent activity, we went into several products, now heavily industrialized. The last 12 years, none of them really existed in carbon fibers. They existed somewhere else or in metal. So it's growing slowly, slowly, slowly. But for us, as the company Supreme I worked for, it's almost industrial and not too much aeronautics. It's more in industries are not heavily regulated, so it's easier to have a foot in and to go ahead. Okay?
Oh, so you're president of the Swiss chapter of the SAMPE.
Yes.
Can you introduce the Swiss chapter? How many members do you have? What are your focuses?
Okay, Swiss chapter. Actually, we have 80 members on 8 million residents, inhabitants. So SAMPE Europe should have then 2,500, but they don't have so many, I know. So we are very devised, okay. Usually these are middle management engineers, lab leaders, engineering group leaders. We have some higher ranking people like the technical officer of Pilatus aircraft, but in general we are in the middle. That changed. In my old times when I was young, there was the higher management SAMPE, and it was an honor for us to join this club. Okay, so that's maybe a little bit different. Now we have a younger generation coming up, and the shift was also from the big university like ETH in Zurich, who was a big reservoir. They are now going further and further into new areas of material technology. So carbon fiber is no more really their key strong element where they produce PhDs every year. So now it goes more to the local technical universities, but also they are a strong base, and that's more in the wide. So we maintain these 80 plus minus 5 all over the last years, and I hope we can stay.
Hopefully. And what is specific about Switzerland and composites? And I don't know, maybe you have examples of technology which have been developed in Switzerland, or maybe new applications.
Okay, typical Swiss industry is always transformation. It's not big industry, so it's more playing in niches, more playing in being supplier for certain parts. So typical sample is, look for Araldite. Araldite was Ciba-Geigy. Ciba-Geigy was Basel. And they were very heavily in the composite late to the 80s last century. And now, Ciba-Geigy, they're now among, that's now today, this department is Huntsman. Ciba-Geigy doesn't exist anymore, etc. Okay. Another example is civil engineering. There was a crashed bridge on a motorway back to the 80s in Switzerland, and there was a young engineer, Urs Meyer, he's a SAMPE fellow. And they had the bright idea to reinforce this bridge or to repair this bridge with lamellas and carbon fibers. So they still have a good old history element that they grew up from this civil engineering business, etc. Through other companies, through startups, etc. They built up a rather good expertise, which goes now into reinforcement of paved asphalt in the roads, which goes now into memory alloys, to self-reinforcing. Okay, it's a continuous process. To give you another sample.
Yeah. And what about innovation in Switzerland? Because as you have a high labor cost, you need to innovate all time long. To stay, because yesterday at the introduction of the conference you mentioned that you are the third country in the ranking of Bloomberg talking about innovative countries. So about innovation and composites, what is the key characteristic here?
Okay, the innovation usually happens in these companies. That means in a company like this Carbolinks for the civil engineering, or a company like Supreme. Actually, that Sulzer prepreg material has nothing to do with Supreme, but that's now a 25 years history in continuous improvement, going to the market, develop new markets, ideas, products, and selling. So that's the way to do, based on a broad base of students, of diploma, PhD students at universities like ETH in Zurich or EPF in Lausanne.
So in a high ranking as well for universities, technical universities.
Yes, and last but not least, also on the workshop floors with education system, reinforce people who work. Usually they do an apprenticeship for 4 years, training in a company on the workshop floor, plus 2 days school training together in the school. Okay,
so that learning in general.
That qualifies them to do the things right, to understand the basic theory, to work, to understand practical hierarchy, which always exists, okay, to follow order and to bring in ideas in a structured way, okay.
So is there anything you would like to add regarding composite materials in Switzerland? Or maybe you
it's very diverse. When I look now through our members, okay, there are members from aircraft companies like Pilatus, there is Huntsman, there is Sika, there is Autoneum, there are members from companies like BioNTech, who do small parts, or Bush Composites, or even Hitachi Abebe, who has a long history on high voltage parts. They are all diverse. So the common thing is more in SAMPE, we do something together in composites, but they work in all different specialities and niches almost, okay?